Okay, we're good to go. So welcome to the Debian Live BoF. So the first item of our agenda is a retrospective of the Buster cycle. I don't think we have everyone here. It's a pity we don't have Steve here. But I thought I'd just mention that what I did during the last cycle was fixing a few small annoying issues that really annoyed me during the straight cycle, mostly stuff that popped up during the live session that annoyed or confused new users. And I also added the Calamares installer, which is also an easier way for end users to install Debian on their laptop or desktop machine. So if anyone else of you did something over the last cycle or had some feedback over what happened during Buster, I think let's start with that. I think you said you did some work this cycle. Oh, you, okay. 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 So we move on to the next topic already. Then we can have more time for the topics you want to introduce at the end. Okay. The mic.
Was there any work done towards making live images or build reproducible?
No. But there's lots of build changes planned over the next cycle, and I think we can do a lot more work towards becoming reproducible.
That's prior art.
yeah. I know if Tails, I think, did that. Yeah. It would be nice if you can help with that. Cool. Yeah, and then so the second topic is maybe I should just make a note of that. This projector does it. Yeah. Did I misspell your name? Yes. Intriguery. Yeah. Cool. So then another topic we had was i386 flavors. We have so many of them. I think there's 7 or 8, and we want to add more images. But before we do that, I think we need to drop some of the older ones not used so much, because GNOME and KDE on i386, does it even make sense? If your computer only has 1 gig RAM and old Pentium 4 or Intel Atom CPU, do you really want to use GNOME or KDE on it? At the same time, Buster is still supported for the next 3 years, starting 2 months ago. It doesn't seem like it really makes sense for us to keep building and testing and maintaining all these i386 images. So I was thinking along the lines of maybe we should have the standard image, which gives you a text environment, which at least also gives you a quick way to install Debian on an old machine. You can then choose your desktop environment later on. And maybe one of the lighter desktop environments that at least lets you test, does your graphics start up on a hardware? So I don't know which. Yeah. I don't know which one it would be, but I think it would make sense choosing one. So I'm not sure if anyone has opinions.
So if you say you want to have a text-only live CD, this should be possible also with the XFCE thing. So maybe you have a choice at the beginning.
Good idea.
And then we have only one flavor for 32-bit.
Currently, neither Debian installer or Calamares supports that. I filed a bug against DI for that because in Calamares you can specify custom removal lists for things that you want to remove, but in DI it's hard-coded at the moment, the list of packages that get removed. So if we can fix that bug in DI, then we could add support for that too. So then it would copy the files, excluding the stuff in the file list for XFCE, and then it would remove those packages after installation. So we could maybe combine that to one image, but it would take a little bit more work. But that actually sounds good. I'm not sure how I can phrase that. So if someone wants to help with notes, please feel free to help. Okay, we want at least standard and one desktop live aim. Yes. And we could probably combine these into one unique image with some extra Okay. I'm not sure if everyone else will agree with us here that those images would be enough for i386, but... Ooh. Would like to add ARM64. Vagrant, I think that's over to you, because so we were talking about removing images so that we can add more, and I think that's something we want to add, so give the mic to Vagrant. And
yes, would love to add ARM64 images in addition, and maybe even ARMHF images. I might be foolishly diving into a new responsibility.
I feel like we shouldn't be adding more 386 architectures at this point.
32-bit, you mean?
Yeah, ARMHF is 32-bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's useful. There are a lot of boards that are supported out of the box in Debian that run ARMHF.
Yeah.
It will be more complicated than the other images because you have to install the correct bootloader, whereas with ARM64 you can probably do an EFI-based image and just that, although that wouldn't support any of the targets that I'm interested in or are generally accessible yet.
Do you think ARMHF needs live images though? Or
Yes.
okay, so maybe we should do the same thing we do for i386 and just have, you know, that light combined image that basically gives you a choice between text only and one light desktop. Because I don't think we want to release 7 new images for ARMHF and 7 new images for ARM64.
I even would go so far as to say if we only have one ARMHF image, I would even prefer a text only. Like I find that useful actually.
Okay.
And if I do the work, then that's what'll happen, right?
Yeah.
I see where all this is coming from. I have a concern about how we communicate this on the website and from the I'm a new person coming to Debian, would like to try it out, and then depending on what your computer is, you get different paths proposed to you, and assuming you have different expectations and different needs from Debian, which is probably very realistic and which I would support, but which is not exactly aligned with the universal OS thingy. So I think there's a challenge in terms of, okay, you want to use Debian, it's good, but for this use case, you need this kind of computers and these sort of things, which I think there's good work being done on this front, but this will make it harder.
I think there could almost be a BoF entirely on that topic, especially because sometimes people want to download ARM64 and AMD64 and ARM64 almost looks the same as the small font on the screen, so you accidentally download the wrong image. And I think it once happened to me too, that I meant to download the one and downloaded the other NetInst image.
So I'm also in the web team, and we are working on new web pages, and a new download page for certain kinds of images, install images and whatever, is a big topic. So we need some cleanup there. We all know this.
Can't you convince them to make a live image the default instead of a NetInst image?
Oh, maybe you should run a GR on this. I hope it would not be important, but you know, there may be some discussion, but I will. Yeah,
because I mean, anyone who wants a NetInst know that they want it, right? But for typical user who just wants Debian on their laptop.
And I have one question: is also the Debian installer on a live CD?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's not in a live session, but when it boots up, you can choose live session where you can install from Calamares, or the second option is the usual install Debian and then install graphical Debian.
Okay. Yeah.
So Vagrant on ARM64, do you think is one desktop image also enough for that? Should it be also the combination of a lightweight desktop and a standard?
The fancier graphics drivers are on their way, so but at the moment I don't know that we could even support a graphical image out of the box.
I see.
Maybe. So there are going to be issues around like which console to boot from and things like that. So yeah.
So maybe for Buster we should start light and just not Buster, Bullseye. We should start light and say for ARM64 Live and ARMHF Live, it's just going to be a standard image.
Possibly. maybe a standard image with some extra things.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah.
Let me just rephrase that a little bit. So ARM64 plus HF. We can reformat this nicer at a later stage. Okay.
And I mean, it would be kind of cool if those actually did include the Debian installer bits too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's standard practice for Debian Live images these days.
That's standard for the.
That would be awesome actually.
Yeah.
So that you could boot either Live or the full installer at this point. But yeah, possibly by the end of the Bullseye cycle, it might be worth considering a graphical ARM64. The future isn't here yet, but it's could be here any day now.
Okay. Anything left on that topic, or shall we move on? Okay. So I added the third option because currently when we do keyway on images, we have this wiki page that we have to claim and then edit and unclaim during live testing, and it's really painful and horrible. So I wanted to work on a web interface where you do that from. That's a lot easier to track and to file bugs from. But it turns out that someone else is already working on it, and they apparently got quite far. And Steve has all the details, but he couldn't make it to the session apparently, so I'm not sure who that is.
So I know that there's some test environment for the not official Debian installer image where so the mouse can be clicked and then a screenshot is taken and it's compared to some things. So I'm not sure how much this is used, but there's some infrastructure for doing graphical installs quality tests.
I know Andy and Steve is also working on that particular front.
Steve McIntyre?
Yeah.
Okay. He works on a lot of things.
Yeah. They're planning a sprint specifically for this.
Okay. Yeah,
so, not sure when that will be, but they mentioned that before the end of the year, they want to do a sprint. Probably close to the barbecue because then they're all together anyway. So yeah, I'll catch up on them, catch up with Andy, Sledge on testing, automated testing.
Maybe also Phil. I think Phil Hans worked on this.
I'll go make some notes and put it in an email at some point after this on who's doing what. Also, something I wanted Steve here with is, you know, the history behind vmdebootstrap and that it's deprecated and it's going out of the archive. And Steve also mentioned that one of his plans is moving vmdebootstrap out of the way. So there's not really too much left to discuss on that front.
So he's going to use what?
I can't remember. He did tell me, but I had the flu and most of the stuff that day was a blur. So I was hoping he could be at the session and tell us more details, but I guess he had something else that got in the way.
Apparently on the Gabi session.
Yeah, I see.
Yes, he's logged in Gabi. Hello, Steve.
So currently vmdebootstrap is used for creating the live image. Does anyone knows? Is vmdebootstrap used for creating the live images?
Yeah, it is. The actual debootstrap and everything after that runs inside that VM that gets thrown away afterwards. So yeah, I think let's keep right ahead to general stuff and other business. So I think you all had...
Maybe back to... So in the Debian Cloud team, we are now using mostly the FAI tools.
Oh, right.
And we create images that can just be booted. So I would guess moving away from debootstrap to FAI would be possible, because creating a live image is just, or for file, it's just which packages do we need to install and how to configure the bootloader, and then we have a live image. So in Phi, we have a tool for creating installation images. And when you boot this up, we have a running NFS route, or normally it's an FS route. So I think most of the techniques are there also to create live images with FAI.
That makes sense. He did mention FAI. I can't remember if that was his intention to use that to replace vmdebootstrap, but it does. So I guess we'll probably move to FAI completely anyway, and maybe we'll ask for some help on that if needed. But
I remember one of the things they wanted for building official images was that it wouldn't require root access for the builds. And I know vmdebootstrap maybe kind of sort of solved that, and that was maybe one of the concerns with the old live helper generation stuff. And it looks like somebody has a comment.
Yeah, with the cloud teams, we are using the Sala CI, and for creating the official cloud images, we pop up a brand new VM. Then we have root access because we can't get root access on machines managed by DSA. So and this was a good solution for us, and I think it's much easier than to look at other tools that may not need root access.
sounds good. Okay, shall we move on to any other business? Or I thought someone had some ideas before the BoF started.
Did you see the comment on RC?
No, I should probably check RC. The one about the Gabi document, okay, that one seems to have been covered. Ah, there's Sledge. I'm good about this. The current live images are not up to the task of being the default images, in my opinion. Okay, there's a few places where they are not quite as good. Okay. I think...
So I would say that the current net install image is just very small. And I'm not sure what about the other official install images. From the size, they may be as big as a live image. Yeah. But I think currently on the main start page of Debian, there's this download link, and this is a net install image because it's so small.
Yeah. I would almost argue again, I think the net image isn't up to the task for everyone who wants to download Debian from the homepage. And as soon as you add one more option, it gets confusing already. So I don't know. That's why I said I think that needs almost a session on its. And I guess the web team already had a session where that was explained in detail.
Why exactly do you think the NetInst isn't fit for the job?
Because it's not fit for the average user who comes to the Debian homepage who just wants to get Debian running on their machine, right? Because
can you define who's the average user and why it's our target?
Average user wants to try it. Debian would be someone who's maybe trying out Linux for the first time, or
okay, this is not our general target. I think if you want to be universal, I don't think that's our target.
I wanted to explain to you, but you're not really giving me a chance. I'm talking about the average user who goes to the Debian website to get Debian, right? If you know that you want, if you're at any level an experienced user, you'll know what image you want, right? You'll know you'll want which desktop you want, whether you want to install it on a server or a desktop, which architecture you want. That will be kind of obvious to anyone who's vaguely experienced. And for them, going to a page where they can choose an image is not a problem. But for someone who goes to Debian.org, who wants to try out Debian, they're not going to know exactly which image they need or want. And for them, it needs to be as easy and simple as possible.
I'm also with you. I would say the same. For example, if an end user wants to install Debian on their machine, they might be somewhere where they download the image, put it on a USB stick, and maybe give it to a friend. But if the friend has a much slower internet connection, it takes a very long time. So downloading one bigger image at one time and copying to several people or then installing would be much faster. So I would also say the end users goes on the Debian start page and want to have an easy download link, even if it's a bigger image. So I'm completely with you.
Often people will try to install it without even having an internet connection at all, and that's not clear when you download the NetInst image for the first time.
It's very hard to find.
So especially when they've tried a few other distributions too, and they're used to just being able to install it, and you know it can kind of bootstrap itself.
Does anybody know what the other distribution do? Do they have also? Yeah.
At least Ubuntu and Fedora provide a live image with graphical installer embedded in it by the default prominently visible link, download link. Okay, it looks like there's some kind of consensus here, but it seems clear that there are few places where the current live images are not good enough. Is there a place where these not good enough things are listed? Hey, Steve. So I think, for example, there's some magics that the DI images do regarding booting on various kinds of broken EFI firmware, while the Debian Live things is more like standard and assumes non-broken EFI implementations. And I suspect this is one of them, but if there are more, we need to make these expectations clear. Like, once you fix these issues, the live images can be the default.
Yeah.
Until we know this list of things, it's going to be hard. But Steve cannot interact properly because of internet or something.
Hopefully internet and not audio-video issues from our side. But as far as I understand, the live images support EFI just as well as the DI images, because Steve implemented that. Let me ask him on RC. Does do as the usual DI images? I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do. And I've tested them all on different UEFI cases and worked for me on physical hardware and VMs, so it seems fine.
Can we record on the on the Gobi that we need this list of blockers somewhere, so possibly someone starts working on them?
Get list of blockers that require NetInst image on front page download link instead of a live image. And I guess talking to the web team and keeping them in that loop, or maybe participating as part of the web team, is probably the best place to do that. Was there any consensus or any feeling from the web team on that, or did you come to a conclusion
on a new download page?
Yeah, or a download link, or what should be the download icon on the main page?
Currently, we have a focus on the start page, but we know that also the CD or disk strip web pages need a complete new redesign. Yeah. And we have some version, but this is a very early work in progress. So the new start page is much more improved than the new download page.
Yeah. And I just want to check with you. Do you think there's a reason why the NetInst should be the default download for users? Because I just don't want to feel that you didn't get it on that one.
For everyone that knows Debian, that have used Debian for a long time, this is the one you want to get. And
I agree with you on that.
When I want to install Debian, I don't need the Debian Live image. And when I need a Debian Live image, I don't need the installer.
Yeah.
Because I know what I want.
So I disagree, because he asked what was the reason why people want to have it, and what you said, they want to have this because they got this in the past. So and this is, I think, not a good reason to stick on some old things.
So you're saying that I need the live image? I don't. I absolutely don't need it. I prefer the NetInst to be smaller
Okay. If you know that you do not need the live image, you are free to choose another image. But the question was, why do we want to give the net image as the default? Why don't we switch to the live image as default? Because you, as a developer, knows where to get the net image. It's the target group. This was also the discussion on the new web page design. Which is the target group? And the target group are the end users. The experienced users, as you say, know where to find some information, where to find the images. But the end user who looks the first time at the Debian web page because somebody told, oh, download Debian, I would also say they need the live image and not the net install image.
So I agree with Zigo. It's important to find the image you want really quickly. But can't you have a big download button for easy users and just small text that says other images that link to the... I think that should be a good compromise for everyone.
I would like to add that as a somewhat experienced Debian user, even if I would probably be fine with the net-ins to install systems, I like booting a live CD first, so I have an idea if graphics and Wi-Fi are going to work, or if I'm going to need non-free firmware or something, and this is something a live image gives me. So even if I could manage with the net-inst, I find some value in getting the live image myself.
Yeah.
And that's not because of lack of technical skills, I would say.
Just to relay a question from IRC, a comment from IRC. Sledge there notes that which is the default desktop if we put a live image.
Which is the default desktop?
For me, then this is solvable. So we just have to decide and yeah. So and maybe also offer the other desktops, but this is not a problem that we cannot solve. I think the first question: do we want to switch to a live CD as a default image?
Yeah. I'm not sure if that would be a live team decision also. It's probably a bigger Debian decision.
The people who do this will decide. Whoever doesn't want. So maybe, yeah. I think Steve will be one of, because he's doing a lot of things with the CDs.
Probably. How long was the session? I just want to check on time. We have about 15 minutes left, it seems. Yeah. Okay, good. So back on the answer for that EFI. On i386 we don't have EFI for Calamares installs, that's correct. But we do have when you do DI. Okay, we answered that. Okay, anything else? One thing that we're not covering in this session that's kind of important is the actual live scripts that all the Debian -live -star packages that exist in Debian, they seem to have been unmaintained the last cycle. I think the maintainer stepped back from them. There were some patches that came in, but it seems like we need someone to step up and maintain a bit more and file bugs.
Yeah, for the live-star namespace, Rafael Herzog has been de facto the gatekeeper, so reviewing and merging patches. It's low intensity because there are not so many patches submitted, but it's a bit better than live support. Live support, I would say. I mean, if there are people ready to do some work in this area, there's somebody who's going to review the patches and take them and give you commit access, probably.
Yeah.
So it's not fully unmaintained. Somebody there.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. But I think if someone's listening and interested in joining and getting involved, that would be nice because it does need some more stable and more solid maintenance.
I can also tell that Live Build is working super well for me, and I had absolutely zero thing to complain about it. I did submit 1 or 2 patches for Buster, that's it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and on the live boot and live config front, there's actually very little work needed. It's mostly like, let's just adjust to the new way, the new KDE or GNOME. Sets the, I don't know, tells if you're an administrator or these sort of things.
Yeah.
So it's very light maintenance.
True.
But yeah, I think we might notice we have more issues to fix there if we had proper QA too.
One question, the live boot packages, do they depend on that the image is created with the live build packages?
No, actually the official live images are built with live wrapper and still use live boot. Live boot is the initramfs component.
Yeah, I generate my images with a completely different tool even, and it works just fine.
And Dracut. Well,
Oh, I'd like to hear about Dracut. Is it going to happen?
well, it actually, if you build your images with some layout and give them some layout that Dracut supports, it replaces live boot and it does these bits. Dracut is a. Dracut, D-R-A-C-U-T. It's an initramfs generator, and it has built-in support for booting live images, but the layout of the image is very special and quite different from what we have in Debian Live so far.
Okay, because during the end of this cycle, we ran into a security issue with initramfs and full disk encryption, and I was wondering, will Debian ever switch to Dracut by default? But it doesn't seem close from what I hear from what you say.
Okay, I'm the package maintainer of Dracut, and I use it in FAI since maybe 7 years. And we started a discussion, I guess, in Switzerland, if the Debian project will switch from initramfs to Dracut, because all other distributions already did this. And there's no real pressure because initramfs tools still work. And we had the discussion for several times. I think it will need some work for the live images and to switch to this. So if we want to switch, it would be nice to have a decision or a release goal. Do we have them? A release goal for Bullseye or Bullseye +1 that Debian switches to Dracut, because that's not something that you can do in 2 months.
Yeah, Steve doesn't seem enthusiastic about Dracut, but
I'd like to add that it's a different problem to have Dracut as for live images only, or everywhere else. There are surely plenty of use cases for which initramfs tools works for us, and that Dracut does not support or support slightly differently. That would prevent us from making the default right now in Debian. But for Debian Live, it's a standard environment that we fully control, so it's a bit different. Now, I think it's only relevant if it allows us to get rid of some code that we have now, like live boot. And it's only relevant to mention this right now because it could be a reason we build our images differently. It's not to have Dracut per se in the initramfs. I don't personally care much, but if it makes the rest of our maintenance job easier, this could be a reason to consider it.
I just don't like diverging in Debian Live too much from what we're doing in the rest of Debian, because there's so many support pages that say do this, and then update initramfs -u, and if we do things, if they end up with a different image than you'd usually get with another installation method,
these
increases
instructions
support.
won't work in Debian Live anyway. But
well, once you're installed, yeah, indeed. Anything else? Any wish list items or stuff that we need to fix for Bullseye QA?
I think one important thing is that we should promote the live images much more. So at events or maybe also on the web page, maybe not making it the default now, but just saying, look, we have some pretty nice live images, and Calamaris is a very easy to use installer, so just promote it, and then we will get more feedback to see which are the blockers, or if the people are very happy, wow, now you have a live image. Yeah, we have this in several years.
Yeah, it should be at least less obscure and hidden somewhere. But on the topic of Calamares, that's actually something I wanted to discuss in this BoF and somehow forgot about. But currently it doesn't have any Debian-specific screens, so it doesn't ask you which mirror you want to use. It just defaults to deb.debian.org, which is probably fine for most people. It doesn't ask you whether you want to participate in PopCon, which is probably also
end users would not really care
Yeah.
if they didn't. And then I think the target group for Calamares, they want to have as few questions as possible.
I was thinking of maybe making some advanced screen, or something that's still as non-intrusive as possible, but might be nice for the people who actually want PopCon to easily enable it. It might be just a tick box in one screen or something.
Do we have a swill in Calamares?
A swill?
A swill, a Debian swill?
Yeah, we do. Let me put up a VM and then we check it. It seems worthwhile to start up if you boot from CD, start up a live session during a live BoF. But yeah, there are plenty of swirls all over Debian. This should only take a minute.
So, bearing the previous videos, I have been using Debian from days of VZ, and I think including a live image and having a new installer in the live image is really useful, because most of the times when I used to recommend Debian to people or friends, most often I have to be there for them to install it for the first time, because Debian installer was too complex for them. But now I could go and recommend them the live images, which is similar to having they installing Ubuntu or something similar. Yeah. So thank you for that. Thanks for working on Calamus. It's really nice. Also, if you could focus more on the Debian Live side, in increasing the default UI UX for a new user, because more often than not, people tend to not recommend Debian for the UI and stuff. They would instead recommend Fedora or Ubuntu or similar stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we should need to focus more on the design part.
Yeah, for sure. So also where I started on Calamares was in a derivative I'm working on. We decided to switch from Ubuntu to Debian, and the biggest concern was Debian is too difficult to install. All the hundreds of students that's going to use it is going to struggle with it, and I started to look at what we can do to make installation of Debian really easy. And Calamares worked for that. We switched over to Debian and no issues at all. Our students dual boot Windows and Mac a lot. And when you have Windows or Mac installed, you just click on, I want to share this, I want to repartition this drive, and you have a slider where you can choose how big the one system is and the other. And you click next and it's done. There's like so little thinking work involved with it. And in that case, it added a lot of value. So yeah, the same kind of experience that we had with that. But yeah, there's 2 swirls at least, so we got the swirls covered. But yeah, I think that's it. Anything else, or shall we wrap up? One more point from Raj.
More often than not, if the developers or if we want to install Debian, we would often go to the minimal, either the live image or the net install image, or something like lightweight like XFCE or LXD, because we have our own setups that we want to put on top of that.
Oh yeah.
If we could recommend the net install and the live image on the homepage of Debian.org, because more often when you click download, then we go to a few other screens. For us, if we need to download, I don't even go to Debian.org. I just go to cdimage.debian.org and I download it from there.
I think you missed kind of that whole discussion.
Yeah, I did miss the. I did listen to all the discussion, but if we could highlight it on the homepage on Debian.org.
Yeah, I think you definitely need both something big and easy for new users and something that links to all the. Yeah. Okay, so. Let it be.
Yeah, I love the idea of a download button right on the homepage, like not having to go to a subpage, which is basically what you said, but I'm just reiterating it just to make sure that gets across.
The current status of the new start page of Debian has a very big download button, but it still links to the old distrib. So the first page will be nice, and then you will see the current page. But yeah, we have to work on this.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for hosting this.
Yeah, thanks.